Alright, what's up guys? I am back with another video once again. This time around, we got some big news. At first we received that little video that you guys just saw as a little sneak peek into the next update. Now, we didn't really get much. We just saw DNA being looked at there. And we had a few people, I guess, theorize what was going to happen. Now, basically everybody thought that it was going to be a symbiote update. You know, in June, there's a big Venomverse thing happening. So everyone just assumed that it was going to be revolving around that. Now, there was a few words blown out here and out there regarding the X-Men. Now, basically, the majority of the people shot it down. They did not believe it was true because of the way that rights are placed. You know, we did not expect this to happen at all. But we are actually getting the X-Men. Now, it's not confirmed how many characters we're getting or who we're getting right now. But basically in this video, I'm going to speak on a few characters that I would really like to see that have been in the X-Men universe. And that would be really interesting from my perspective in this game. They can have some unique skills and maybe even bring some new elements to the game. Now, keep in mind that they may not be current members of the X-Men. They may be former members. They may even be enemies. But nevertheless, I'm going to speak on a few characters that I would like to see. But honestly, this is a game changer. Now, one of the things that I'm worried about is with the introduction of the X-Men, they're obviously not going to release them all at once. They're going to release them a little bit at a time. You know, they never release 100 characters at once. And, you know, throughout time and the history of the X-Men is quite big. There's quite a lot of characters that have revolved around that universe. Now, nevertheless, we are getting the X-Men. So it's something that I'm really excited about, and I'm sure most of you guys are excited about. But one of the things that I'm afraid of is that the X-Men are going to outshine all of the current characters. You know, whenever we have a new update and there's new characters, they're always the hype at the time. People are always talking about them and just talking about mainly them. There's a lot of characters that get left in the dust. And over time, because of power creep, there's so many characters that have been left behind and that don't stand out that much and that don't get talked about that much. Key examples would be Spider-Man, Iron Man, you know, War Machine. These are all characters that are quite big, and no one really talks about them just because they're pretty much basically just horrible characters now. Of course, they're still useful for a few things like Shadowland and maybe even World Boss, but they're outshined by so many characters now that they don't even compete, and there's no point in really ranking them up or, you know, blowing a ton of resources into them. But see, this is a problem that I have with the X-Men being introduced. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that I don't want the X-Men, because of course I do. There's so many X-Men and so many characters that I really love and that I would really like to see in the game. And even some of the bigger ones like Wolverine, of course, and Cyclops, who we know is already coming. But just the fact that they're really going to outshine the rest of the characters that we have. Maybe not all of them, because I don't expect all the X-Men to be super powerful and outclass every single character in the game. But I do expect them to really stand in the spotlight, at least until it's been a few months in that we've been getting X-Men characters, and then it will die down a little bit. But yeah, so basically, that's just one thing that I'm afraid of. You know, I don't want all the other characters to be forgotten. You know, there's a lot of characters that I really love that are in the game now, and a lot of characters that aren't even in the game that I really love that I would like to see. Someone like Spider-Woman even, you know, that's a character that I think should have been introduced such a long time ago, and she never was. But nevertheless, you know, we have Spider-Man Homecoming coming up, so maybe Iron Man and Spider-Man will get a buff then, and we'll have a little bit of spotlight. But personally, I think that for a good chunk of time, the X-Men are really going to be the big spotlight of the game. But nevertheless, let's move on to a few characters that I think would be really interesting in the game. They could bring in some new elements, some new types of skills that we haven't seen before. And I'm not going to give so many because I don't want this video to go on forever. But I'll give you 2 or 3 characters that really stood out to me. And like I mentioned earlier, they may not be standout characters of the X-Men. You may not even have heard of them. And they may not even be on their side. So first up, we have Bishop. Or also, his real name is Lucas Bishop, I believe. Now, basically a little backstory on him. He was the son of mutant refugees after a nuclear strike or a nuclear attack happened in Australia. They migrated and fled to America. And, you know, he has the basic story that half of the superheroes have. His parents died, etc., etc. Basically, he can absorb energy. And he can do this, like, passively. He doesn't have to be, like, focusing on it or anything like that. He could just always be absorbing energy. And then he can take that energy and send it out in pulses or blasts or other various forms, pretty much. I think he can be a very interesting character, you know, especially against blast type and universal type characters. Not combat type characters so much, as they are more physical. But to characters with energy attack, I think could be very interesting. Maybe he can kind of absorb some of their energy, absorb some of their health. Just interesting ideas like that. He can have a type of Sharon Rogers' third skill where he, when you use that skill, you know, he absorbs energy damage and then he sends it out in a blast or something like that. I think he could be really interesting. Now, the next character would be, I'd have to say, Mimic. Now, he's not so much, as far as I know of him, he's not really on the X-Men side. The bit of backstory that I know is that he broke into, or actually blackmailed his way into the X-Men house. And from there, he stole some of their powers in order to use them against them. Now, I do know that the 5 original X-Men, he holds their powers at all times. He doesn't have to, let's say, mimic their powers to use against them. Basically, what he can do is he can copy other characters and other mutants' powers, and then he can use it against them. Now, the thing is, he can't be, as far as I know anyways, he can't be, like, at the other side of the world and take another character's powers or another mutant's powers and then use it where he's standing. But if he's fighting another character, which would mean they were in close range, he would be able to mimic them and basically use their same powers against them. Now, he can have multiple characters' powers at once. So I think he could be a very interesting character. You know, say he was in a PvP fight in Marvel Future Fight and fighting someone like, let's say, Enchantress, just for an example, and she were to use Charm. As soon as he were to break out of that charm, or even if he had some kind of resist to it, I don't know, he would be able to then use the exact same skill against her. Now, it would be very, I guess, hard for Netmarble to implement that into the game. You know, if that were to be one of his skills, I think it should be his 5th skill, because he can pretty much mimic any character's skills. So he can have, say, he'll be fighting a Thanos. Thanos will use his 6th skill, and then he, you know, can mimic that and use Thanos' 6th skill against him. He would have basically a ton of animations. So I really think he would be an interesting character. However, I think he would be really, really tough to implement into this game. But I would be very excited to see him in the game and how what direction Netmarble really goes with him. Now, I'll name one more character here. This is a character that is kind of unique, I guess. Basically, I should probably say her name. That might help. This is actually the only female character that I've put on this list. It would be Petra. Now, a little backstory on her. When she was younger, I'm not sure on the exact age, but when she was younger, she was in, I believe she was on a trip, like a camping trip or something, with her parents, and then they were in a rock slide accident. Now, she has the abilities to manipulate and reshape basic elements like stone and rock and, sand and earth and even lava. So when that incident happened, when they were in a rock slide incident, of course her parents died. Like I mentioned earlier, that's the basic superhero character origin story. But her parents died and she was not affected. She actually used her powers without knowing, unknowingly, and she was able to save herself. Then from there, she kind of went into a darker place. You know, she was on the streets and manipulating different elements to stay safe and to stay warm. And another thing she has the ability to actually manipulate different elements. Like if she were to concentrate on, I guess the most known one would be coal. If she were to concentrate on like a piece of coal, she can then like turn it into diamonds and reshape it into diamonds, which, you know, with the X-Men coming, that would be something great for all of us, you know, to be able to manipulate matter into diamonds, because we could definitely use a lot of crystals in Marvel Future Fight with the upcoming updates, including the mutants. But yeah, so I just think she could be a very interesting character. You know, she can manipulate different elements and reshape them. She could have some interesting skills. She can make some stuff out of stone and rock and smash characters between it. I don't know. She can have a big wave of lava going across the screen. Basically, I just think that she has unique abilities that would allow for very diverse and unique skill set in Marvel Future Fight. It would come with some cool animations, and I just think she would be a unique character in the game and a standout character. Now, like I mentioned, these are just a couple characters that I would really like to see. You know, like I mentioned, I don't think we're going to get all of the X-Men at once, or I can pretty much guarantee that there's so many characters that have been a part of the X-Men, whether they're heroes or villains, that have been a part or associated with them somehow, that can be implemented into the game. So I don't think we're going to get them all at once, but nevertheless, you know, as they're slowly implemented, there are a fewer less known characters that aren't in all the movies and that you don't like see on screen or all over the internet all the time, that I think could really stand out in Marvel Future Fight. So I gave you guys a few examples there. You know, if you guys have any characters that you would really like to see, and please don't name characters like Wolverine or Cyclops or Storm or Rogue, like all these characters that everyone really knows, Beast, Gambit, you know, everybody knows those characters. They're all standout characters. They're like the main image. If you guys are going to name characters, give me some examples of characters that aren't like really, really well known by everybody. I just want to know like your opinions. You guys could let me know their origin story if you want, just in case it's a character that I'm not familiar with. You guys could also let me know what abilities they have, what powers they have, and just give me like a general idea of what you'd like their skills to be in game. I don't know, just shoot us some ideas down below, and we'll just get a little discussion going here and discuss it a little bit, because, you know, it has been over 2 years now that this game has been out, and since the beginning, everyone's been like, X-Men, 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 we want the X-Men, and it has gotten really, really annoying, but now we hit a point where no one's going to be asking for that stuff anymore. Since we have it, there's going to be a lot of shit posts just out of the community that we aren't going to have to worry about anymore, we're not going to have to read anymore. So yeah, you know, just give me some ideas that you have. I shared some that I had with you. You know, I don't really have a whole ton to say on this update. You know, I'm really excited about it, except I have a few fears, I guess, that what can happen with the introduction of the X-Men. Now, there are still a lot of flaws with the game, things that need to be fixed, and just because the X-Men are being added, it doesn't mean that everything with the game is fixed. But nevertheless, you know, it is something to be excited about. It is a big step in the right direction. And yeah, so we're just going to have to see what happens with the update. I just wanted to give you guys some of my thoughts. You guys can share some of your thoughts with me. And yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys do actually share some characters down below with me that you would like to see in the game. And we can get a little discussion going, you know. I don't really have any... how can I put this? There's not really a ton of characters from the X-Men that I don't want to see in the game, but I'm not really familiar with every single character that has been associated with the X-Men. So, you know, you guys sharing opinions with me just further grows my knowledge of the X-Men and the universe and all the characters that are associated with them, that revolve around them. And yeah, so we can all help each other grow each other's knowledge and just see what happens with the coming updates. And hopefully we get some characters that we really want. And hopefully Netmarble does the X-Men some justice. Now, Netmarble usually has... they have the... Sorry, the word's not coming to my head. They just have... fuck. This is depressing. They have... I don't even know how to say it. They just tend to always end up messing stuff up somehow. Like they'll leak or tease, give us sneak peeks at huge things that we've wanted, but then they really have a way of messing things up. Like the new Guardians of the Galaxy update, there has been a ton of hate on it and a ton of backfire against them. Now, I'm not saying they did a horrible job with the update, but I personally think they could have done a lot better. They could have done some other characters justice, and they could have introduced, you know, more characters that were really associated with Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, because, you know, the only pretty much standout character is Mantis, who isn't all that interesting to me. I don't find she's the most interesting character, and there were so many interesting characters that were associated with Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 that they could have really implemented. So I just really hope that Netmarble does the X-Men some justice, and that come the time that they're released, we're not just disappointed with them and disappointed with everything that happens with them, but nevertheless, I look forward to the future. I know you guys are going to look forward to the future, and I'm staying really excited and really hyped up about the coming update. I hope you guys are as well. Thank you for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one. Adios.